so now it's on. Right. Perfect. Oh. He realized, oh, it's time.
All right. Welcome to the June 7th meeting of the Parks and Rec Commission. Will the staff secretary please call roll?
Good evening. Commissioner Alexander?
Here.
Commissioner Bridge?
Here.
Commissioner Esparza?
Here.
Commissioner Pollock-Cushing?
Here.
Commissioner Randolph?
Here.
Commissioner Sojek?
Here.
Commissioner Stearns?
Here.
Commissioner Burnett? Thank you.
All right. Will Commissioner Alexander please lead us in the pledge?
Pledge allegiance to the
Flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Great. Thank you. All right. Can the secretary please read the procedures for addressing the commission tonight?
And hopefully one final time. Good evening. Pursuant to the executive order executed by the Governor of California on March 17, 2020, and as a response to mitigating the spread of COVID-19, the meeting of the Parks, Recreation, and Libraries Commission will allow members of the public to participate and address the commission during the meeting. Public comment may be submitted by telephone and prior to the close of the public comment on an agenda item by calling 916-774-5353. If you call, you'll be placed on a hold by the attendant. Because the broadcast is delayed up to 30 seconds when watching at home, there'll be a delay and we will pause here at the meeting. When your call is transferred to the commission, you'll have 5 minutes in which to speak to a regular agenda item and 3 minutes for public comment on items not on the agenda. We'll monitor your time and let you know when your time has expired. When calling, please do not use this speakerphone option as it may create difficulty for the commission to hear your comments, and please make sure your television volume is turned down. Thank you.
Oh, great, thank you. All right, we'll now open the public comments. Citizens addressing the commission during public comment are limited to 3 minutes unless extended by the chair, and must be regarding items that are not listed on the agenda and are within the city's jurisdiction. The Brown Act does not permit any action or discussion on items not listed on the agenda, and no action will be taken on items addressed under public comments. Public comments can be made by calling 916-774-5353. And now we'll wait see if anyone calls. You do?
Thank you for calling the Parks and Recreation Commission. Go ahead, please, with your name.
Yeah, my name is Benjamin Lloyd.
Go ahead, Mr. Lloyd.
Yeah, good evening. Thank you for taking my call. I'm sorry I couldn't be there in person. I would like to just propose a public bike park in the area. I know recently there's been kind of a local uprising against with bicyclists about the demolition of some trails out in the Grand Bay area. I know that trails are frequently being built illegally, and it takes cities money and time to go and rectify those situations. But I think it's a good family opportunity. I think it'll bring revenue into the area. I follow several pro bike riders on Instagram and stuff, and I see several people out visiting from other states, large bike parks that we have in the Truckee area. There's several in there's one in Elk Grove. Auburn's just adopted one. Rockland is looking into it. But I think it's a good positive thing for families in the area. I know my kids are really into the bike riding, and it's often a trip that's an hour or longer to get to these areas. And I think it would generate revenue with people coming from out of town, hotels, local bike shops, dining, people that come and check out these different features on these parks. So I think it would be a good use of some space and just get families involved. They're very, the bike parks that I've been to are all very family oriented. Skate parks kind of got a bad rep because they're kind of, for outsiders and, people weren't welcome there, but bike parks put up a different vibe, a very friendly, family-oriented vibe. So I think it'd be a good addition to the community.
Very good. And we appreciate your comments tonight. And we'll have staff look into your comments. Did you give your telephone number to our staff member who answered the phone?
I did not.
Okay. We're going to put you on hold, and we're going to get that so we can follow up with you. Okay?
Oh, great. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Mr. Lloyd.
All right, thank you. Did we have any more calls?
I think we just had the one call, right? Yeah.
Good, okay. All right, so we will now close public comment. All right, next on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from our last meeting. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Thank you. Do we have a second? Yes, okay. All in favor of approving the minutes?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, perfect. Thank you. Moving on. All right. Next item is number 6.1, the JM50 School Park Master Plan presented by Tara G.
Good evening. It's a pleasure to be here tonight. Actually, I'm going to be presenting 4 different master plans. So the first one is JM50. I'm Tara G., your Park Planning and Development Superintendent. JM50 is a school park site, and it is located in the Sierra Vista plan area. It's west of Fitterman, north of Vista Grande on Upland Drive. It is targeted to be built adjacent to an elementary school, and it will be the first elementary school that we've partnered with with Center School District. So public outreach, our typical public outreach process is 2 virtual public workshops, during COVID at least, virtual. We follow up with a survey, and then we have a 2-week write-in period. So our first workshop was held on February 9th, 2021. And during COVID, as I just mentioned, we did virtual workshops. And so approximately 20 people participated in February. We reviewed the park planning process. We gathered feedback on suggested park features, and we answered questions. On this particular park site, there was no clear feedback that was received or really any expressed desire on park elements, which is a first for me. This workshop, as you know, as all the workshops, virtual workshops, were recorded so that they could be posted online, and anybody who wanted to either follow up or had to miss it had the opportunity to listen in and review the information provided. We then took the suggestions and surveyed residents on their top preferences. We asked what excites them about the park and what concerns them, and 19 people completed the survey. We then took that feedback and created a revised concept sketch and presented it in a second public workshop on April 7th. 4 residents attended that workshop, and there were lots of questions that were asked. However, there was no opposition to the proposal. As mentioned during the first public workshop, there was no clear consensus on preferred amenities, but the survey gave us some good feedback. The top surveyed items included a splash pad, a children's play area, climbing structure for children, a basketball courts, a skate park, and a pet exercise area. When asked about what excites you about the park, or the residents about the park, most people said a place for children and families to play together and a park close to home. What concerns you about the park? Homelessness, noise, traffic, cleanliness of the park, and many people had no concerns, which was a good sign. So we revised the concept plan to show a ball field and a large multi-use area. The multi-use field or area allows for a variety of activities, from formal organized use to informal self-directed use. The ball field, as I mentioned, would be so it could be baseball, it could be softball. And to the south, where the ball field is now, is where the school is. And to the south of that ball field is some open field for the school site. So it was a good location to collaborate and make the amenities more of a campus-like feel. We do have a loop path that is proposed. That's that dark black dashed line, and it proposes a decomposed granite shoulder so that on the outer edge, so that people who like to jog or walk on a softer surface has an opportunity to do that. And we will also put some mile markers on it too. We do propose a restroom, and the budget is $2.5 million, which seems like a lot, but for an 8-acre site, it goes pretty quick. So why not a splash pad, basketball court, tennis, skate park, and pet area? We'll start with the splash pad. Splash pads are really nice to have, as we can see outside on a hot summer day. However, it is extremely high maintenance. It's really not conducive to a neighborhood park where it attracts people from outside the neighborhood. For example, we are experiencing, and we've got the crab at Harry Crab Park. That park right now has the water feature on 7 days a week, starting Memorial Day, and we need to service it 3 times a day. And so making sure the filters stay clean and making sure it stays on. And so it is not only a high replacement cost, but it's also a high day-to-day maintenance cost. So we have to consider and be very strategic about where our splash pads are. Why not a basketball court? Because The school, again, we have joint use agreements with the school, and they plan to build a bank of basketball courts. The beauty of having a joint use site is that we can spread the dollars, we can offer different amenities, and really look at it as a campus instead of two separate parcels. Tennis. Tennis was actually not mentioned in any feedback survey or anything else. So, the biggest amount of feedback collected was the survey. And so we want to make sure that we honor what was said in the survey as well as the first workshop. Skate park and pet area, very similar. Those are just not good complementary neighborhood park amenities. Skate parks, we just heard some feedback on that. Will attract a lot of people to the skate park, and having that traffic into the neighborhood is really not it's not conducive to the quality of life. So there's better places to put a skate park it's not next to homes. It's got more parking and more opportunity for people to play. Pet area, a dog park. Basically, again, not a really good neighborhood park element. There's people who really love dogs and people who are really not so in love with dogs. And there's not an in-between. And so similar to having right location, right place, right adjacencies, we have to be very careful where we put a dog park. All right, 2-week write-in period. This was a little bit different than some of the other ones you've seen. We had four people responding, and it was 2 and 2. Comments were about moving the restroom, again, bringing up the basketball, tennis, and then introducing the idea of a pickleball court, asking for exercise equipment, and a comment really feeling that the park was too bare. We agree that the restroom, and it's shown right in the middle on the bottom there, that the restroom can move. In fact, it should probably move to the right so that it's easier to see from the street. The basketball and tennis I already explained, but pickleball was very similar to the tennis. This wasn't something that was mentioned by anybody who was attending the workshops, fill out the survey, that type of thing. It was one comment. And we are at budget. So we can review opportunities for exercise equipment. We can look at how that works. It's not a hugely costly item. But if you recall the last meeting, we need to be careful about how much exercise equipment we're putting in all the parks. Because if it turns out to be a fad, 2 years from now, we've got a lot of investment on something that might not be as well used. And again, I think some of the comments about the park looking too bare is because of that open multi-use field. And we wanted to really make sure that that end was very natural looking and very attractive from the neighborhood standpoint. Adding additional elements would mean that we may have to take something else out. So we really want to be very careful about and very deliberate about what we add or what we take away. So here's the proposed master plan. Again, the elementary school is on the bottom of the slide. Adjacent school plans show school parking off of Upland, which is on the right of the screen. And along the common property line on the bottom, kind of midway, there's a parking lot that kind of goes parallel to the property line. And as I mentioned, about where the ball field is where their green space starts. And they do plan, at least right now, to put in some soccer and a couple of ball fields as well. So adding a third one will really make this a really nice campus and a nice opportunity to have youth league play. So the master plan also proposes a children's play area, a swing area, as I mentioned, a restroom, the open multi-use turf area, off-street parking, that's that gray rectangle off of the street, and again, that looped perimeter walkway with a decomposed granite trail. Keep in mind this is a high-level drawing. It doesn't get into details about what the park shade structure looks like or how the playground lays out. Those are details that will come when we start doing the next phase as we move forward with construction documents. The Commission's recommendation for approval is about the proposed amenities and the general layout of the amenities. So what are our next steps? We will look at environmental review and bring both that and the master plan, should it be approved today, to council for approval. And then once it's approved, we will start construction documents. Breaking ground, it depends. It depends on the workload and capacity of our staff. And we're trying to really make this construction project, a park project, coincide with the school. So we're working very collaboratively with the school and trying to have those break ground around the same time, or at least be finished around the same time. So with that, the recommendation tonight is to approve the master plan for JM50 School Park site in the Sierra Vista area of Roseville and forward the plan to the City Council pending completion of the environmental clearance. And with that, this concludes JM50 presentation. I stand ready to answer any questions you may have.
Anyone? Regina?
I can start. Yeah, I have a quick question. I sorry if I missed it, but how many ball fields we're planning on being total ball fields?
There'll be potential for 3. So 1 on the city and 2 on the school site.
Oh, but just the park itself would just have that one baseball field?
Yeah, the park itself will have the one.
And that open space to the right of it on the screen was just kind of open grassy area?
Yeah, and you can play a number of different sports on it. You can play soccer, rugby, lacrosse, some formal practice or field sports. And you can also, throw a football, play a frisbee, have a picnic. So it's a really nice open area for a variety of different activity.
One other question too. I was trying to track where you showed where the bathroom was and where it would be moved to. I didn't understand that.
Right now it's shown kind of in the middle of the park, along the common property line of the school.
Okay.
And so the school, there, thank you. It's that little rectangular box smack in the middle.
Number 1?
Yes, right there. And so we're proposing it to move it closer to the parking lot. So it's easily serviced, it's easily surveilled off of a road, and it's just a better location.
And that was based on resident feedback too? It
was actually feedback from the facilities manager at the Center School District. And we thought, yeah, that's a good comment because the adventure club is in that area on the school site. And that's a main connection between the school and the park. And so moving that building a little further away from that main common access makes sense.
Yeah.
Yes, Tara, I concur with you that this site needs to be complementary to the school, and it's an elementary school, so it's probably a little lower level improvements that are needed. And I would concur with moving the bathroom closer to the parking area because I imagine that their bathrooms would be nearby. So, having said that, and then we do have that we're in the Center School District, right? And we do have a joint use agreement with them?
We're working on that right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's good to know because this would be I believe, our first foray with the Center, correct?
Yes, and they're very excited to be building in Roseville. And they've been great partners so far.
Okay. That's all I have. Like I say, I concur with what you proposed.
Now, since it's a lot of open space and being with an elementary school, is there ample shading and places like picnic tables and with shade on it? Because I know going into the hot summer, shade at the parks is essential.
Yeah,
like over by the bleachers, will there be some?
Yeah, right next to the restroom, where we showed the restroom, there's this round thing.
Yeah, that's the
That's,
only,
yeah, that's where the picnic area is, and so it's shaded underneath that. So we will look at the play structures to see what we can afford to do. Generally, it's trying to get it the biggest that we can. Sometimes shade works in that area, within that budget, sometimes it doesn't. But, we do hear that a lot, that shade is very sought after.
what about any misters or anything? I know obviously not like a splash pad, but just something to cool little kids. If this is going to be a focal point for younger kids.
Yeah, we have an agreement
same.
with our Water Utilities Department, EU, about really being mindful of that. The misters are, straight out water. It doesn't recirculate, that type of thing. So we need to pick and choose how much and where we do that. It's still a service and maintenance challenge, and especially now going into the drought, we need to be very careful about having water go into the, not being recirculated.
And on this one here, we're good with the reclaimed water for,
Yeah, this will be
that's all. all part
recycled
of
water.
that area. Perfect.
So we are able to move forward with anything at this point, as long as it's recycled water.
Excellent.
Okay. Leah, any comments?
No, I think I'm okay.
Okay, so now we'll open this up for public comment. If there's anyone viewing that would like to comment on this, you may do so by calling 916-774-5353. We'll give you a bit to call in. All right, we'll close public comment on this item. And now do we have a motion on the item?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay,
Second.
second. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion carries. Thank you, Tara. But we'll stick around for item 6.2, which is W50D School Park Master Plan, presented by Tara G.
All right. This is a neighborhood park in the West Roseville area. It's about 1.2 acres, and it's located in off of Garland, Meeker, Mount Evans, and McCovey Ways. And so the budget for this is $875,000. Similar to the outreach program that I outlined earlier, we did go through the 2 virtual public workshops, the survey, and the 2-week write-in period. So our first public workshop was for this park was January 26, 2021. And we had about 12 residents who participated. We again reviewed the park planning process, answered questions, and asked about suggested features. We also recorded the workshop so that people could, watch it after, or if they couldn't attend, they could catch up on it. We took the suggestions and we surveyed the residents, and 26 people completed the survey. We then took that feedback and we created a revised concept sketch. So we're probably a couple slides forward. And 16 residents submitted, or 16 residents attended that second public workshop, which was in March 31st, 2021. So the next slide shows the feedback and the sketch that responded to that feedback. We wanted to ensure, the feedback was mainly to ensure that this park, especially since it was 1.5 acres, remained a passive park with lots of trees. The small size lends itself to this kind of approach. And during the first workshop, there was no clear consensus of any preferred amenities. So somebody would suggest, an amenity, and somebody would say, no, I don't want that. And so that kind of went back and forth for a while in that first workshop. So we put some of these items on the survey. And again, splash pad ranked very high. Shade was something that people wanted. Play for smaller children, a putting green, swings, a basketball court, and a zip line. We're all top-rated amenities. What excites people about the park is a place for the children to play, having a nice green space to look at versus an undeveloped lot in the middle of their neighborhood, and a park close to home. Concerns are typical, and what you hear a lot is safe use of the park, attracting others from outside of the neighborhood, noise, traffic, and speed. So what we did with that is we went out we refined it, and since there was no opposition to the sketch that we presented, we did go out for a 2-week write-in period, and 12 people responded during that time frame. 7 were in support, 5 asked questions, and there was 0 non-supporting feedback on it. And the questions that were asked were, some were about clarification, some just reemphasizing they want a zip line. There was a table that was on one side of the street, or one street, that a resident really didn't prefer, so it was by their house, so we just moved it. Again, pickleball, basketball, and maximizing the shade. One of the things we do look at as well is our job is to balance the variety of amenities that are provided within a general area. So this arc there, that yellow gold arc, represents 2 miles as the crow flies. So I don't know if you recall, but we did open Orchard Ranch Elementary School, and right next to it is Sierra Crossing, and Astle Family Park was open at that same time about 2 years ago. This is the one area that has 4 parks within blocks of each other. And so you'll see W50C on the bottom there. That's now called Four Corners Park, and that is about to break ground. We're about to go out to bid, and so it'll break ground this summer. So W50D is at the top there, and so it's a really nice cluster of parks within walking distance. Depending on your mood, you could get a variety of experiences. So making this park a really passive park makes sense because of the complementary features on the other parks nearby. So here's the master plan proposed for approval and recommendation. Mount Evans is on the top there, and so the master plan proposes a children's play area, swing area, individual picnic and seating areas with shade over each table or bench. If you recall, some of you, Elizabeth Jane Fittement Park has some benches with their own shade. Instead of putting one big shade like we did on JM50 with 6 tables, it's individual tables with their own shade. And as you can see, to Sandra's comment, we put a lot of trees in there, and really making it not an active park, but again, a self-directed park where you can enjoy shade, just go out and play, sit under a tree. The center, right next to the play area and swing, shows 3 big trees, and those are intended to be signature trees, and a little bit on a berm or a little bit of an elevation change. So that becomes the center point of that park site. And of course, we have a perimeter walkway that goes around the park. So why not a basketball court? Because if it were going to create a passive park, basketball, you can go down the street 2 blocks and you can play at Orchard Ranch, or you could play at 50C. You could play there's access to that. And again, with the site being so close to 3 other parks, we really wanted to be cognizant of offering a variety of activity within close range. Water feature, I've explained it on the other one. Water features are just very expensive and to maintain, and especially in a 1.2 acre site. It's really, we don't have the parking, we don't have the access, we don't have a a lot of the ongoing maintenance funding and resources to take care of it. And of course, the putting green. We don't have a putting green in our parks, and so, that's a high maintenance element itself. And just to mention that as well, that golf in our parks are prohibited. So we didn't want to be conflicting with our own rules and guidelines. So the next step, same as the other one, if approved tonight, we'll move forward with the environmental review, move it on to City Council for their approval, and begin construction document preparation. The target to break ground is spring of 2022. So tonight we're asking approval of the master plan for W50D, neighborhood park site in West Roseville area, and forward it to the City Council pending completion of the environmental clearance. And with that concludes presentation number 2. Any questions? I stand ready.
Go this way.
I noticed that, of course, in this park, it doesn't make sense to put a zip line, but is that even plausible in one of our parks, or would that be more of a private sector?
Well, it depends on how you define zip line. We do have zip lines in several of our parks. In fact, I mentioned Elizabeth Jane Fittiman. It does have a zip line there. And we have a zip line in, one other park that's close by in West Roseville as well. So I think that, the reason why people are suggesting that is there was a lot of feedback to make the children's play area for younger children, and then to make sure that the older children have something to do. So, again, $875 doesn't go very far, but we're certainly happy to look at that and see if that makes sense or not with the budget.
Yeah, I got a quick question on the larger trees that you have stationed for the middle of the park. Are those going to be brought in already mature trees, or are you going to just plan on growing bigger trees, a bigger tree breed in that spot?
Again, I think we'll have to look at the budget, and we may get some box trees, so they won't be huge, but they'll be bigger than some of the other trees initially. So if there's 3 of them, we can bring in 3 box trees. I don't know if you've seen them, but they come in 24 or 36-inch boxes. It takes, several men and equipment to put one in, but we're looking at that so that we get a good start on those center trees.
Can I ask about those trees? I once heard a landscape architect say that you can start with the bigger tree, but it tends to go into shock, and so within 5 years, it's about the same size as one that is put in smaller. Is that a fair assessment, and does it make sense? I mean, it's a great idea to start with the bigger one, but if it basically catches up to being equal, is it truly a benefit?
It does. That's a good point, Regina. You can plant a 1-gallon tree and a 15-gallon tree, and they will catch up. We don't want to get, box trees are fine if we hit it the right season and the right type of tree, and you're not gonna see this marked difference over 5 years. They won't go into shock terribly bad. They need a little bit of care, but they're doable on that. If you get bigger than 36, then I think that's where you see a lot of the challenges of shock in dieback. If you've got the big machines that cone it out, that's where you're ruining a lot of the root system, and that's where the shock comes in. But these are grown in a nursery in a box, so the shock is a little less.
Gotcha.
I was just going to say, I think given the size and the budget, this is actually a very well planned out park. And I really like the addition of the bottle filling stations. I think that's a great thing in all the parks to have, especially for the little kids. So I like this one.
All right, Nick, did you have anything? Andre? No? All right. So with that, we'll open it up to public comment. If there's anyone in the viewing audience that would like to comment on the item, you may do so by calling 916-774-5353. And we'll give you a few seconds to call in. All right, it doesn't look like we have any phone calls on this item. So we'll move on. Thank you, Tara. We'll move on to your next presentation. Item 6.3, CO64 HP Citywide Park Master Plan. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, you need.
Correct. You need to approve that one, sorry. So do we have a motion on the item?
So moved.
All right,
Second.
a couple seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Now we will move on to 6.3, the CO64 HP Citywide Park Master Plan with Tara G.
All right, number 3. We're almost there. CO means Campus Oaks, and this is a citywide park site. It combines 2 sites together, one on the Campus Oaks master plan, planned development, and a site that is partially on the former HP site. It's located off of Blue Oaks, west of Foothills, and east of Wood Creek Oaks Boulevard. In total, it's about 11.2 acres. And again, it's a citywide park site, which is different. This is the citywide is where you want to put your skate tracks in. You want to put your higher draw types of components or amenities in this site like this. And so the budget for this is $3.5 million. Now, this park is proposed to be built as a turnkey or developer-built park. So with the process is slightly different when it comes to a turnkey or developer-built park, and that is no public outreach occurs. The design is collaboration between the developer and the city. We are here, master plan approval is exactly the same, and construction document preparation is the same as well. Those 2 align. But when it comes to construction, the developer actually holds the contract with the contractor, and the city participates in the inspections and project management, if you will, to make sure that the project is built to standards so that we can take it over once the project is finished. The reason for no public workshop is because the developers want to build their parks up front before the majority of people are there, or frankly, before anybody's there. It's essentially nobody's residing there, so there's nobody to reach out to. And the developers like those who choose to build the park up front. They like it because the park is something to show early on, the beauty of the park, and it's an incentive. It sells homes. And so there's a incentive and a real benefit by a developer building a park earlier on. As I mentioned, the design is collaborative, and so there's a lot of back and forth between the landscape architect that the developer hires and ourselves. And let's see, generally speaking, the turnkey projects are usually applied to the neighborhood parks. So you saw 2 neighborhood parks earlier on. And so those are the sizes of that. However, this is a citywide park and will be the first one that we've applied a turnkey process to a citywide park. That being said, the budget's not outrageous. If you look at Pistachio or Regional Park or any of our bigger, or Harry Crab Park, you're talking several million of dollars, and this is 3.5. So it's not only a 11-acre site, a big neighborhood park in essence, but the budget is fairly typical of a school park site as well. So the next slide shows a concept plan that was included in the specific plan. And you can see that, well, first of all, north is to the left, and you can see the vision that was set forth when we approved the plan area. And when I say approve the plan area, that means where the schools go, where the houses goes, where the commercial centers are, where the roads are located. So that's the process of early on planning. And this was what was included and I won't go through all the amenities, but it's very ambitious. to say the least. And some of the things that were included are open turf areas, an amphitheater, pickleball and badminton, futsal and tennis, a fitness course like the Ninja Warrior-like fitness kind of course. Of course, children's play areas, a plaza with game tables, restrooms, bocce ball courts, several group picnic areas, a lighted basketball court, a skate or BMX track, of course, parking, fenced dog park, enhanced paving with entry features. The $3.5 million budget is the increase of the budget to reflect 2020 costs for inflation. So the developer, rather than paying a citywide park fee, will keep that money and use that money to build this park. So what I listed again was, and one other thing I wanted to mention, because this is a citywide park, the funds or the fees of other development did not consider this one because this one just came in later. So we could not afford to take any more of their general citywide park funds and apply it to this park. The park will really need to stand on its own with the citywide park fees that are generated through this plan area. Our citywide park fund, as you know, you've heard about it, is stretched pretty thin. So it was important that the $3.5 million be spent wisely on this park site because there's no additional funding that's coming anywhere else. So now for the reality. $3.5 million doesn't get us too far. And so, labor and materials costs are going up and they continue to increase. So the plan has been simplified quite a bit. So if we start again to the north, which is on the left of the screen, we have an open turf area. Our base plan right now, we intend to build 2 pickleball courts, but it shows 4. If we get competitive bids, we'd like to build 4. We have that brown area, long brown area, is a fenced dog park. And this is proposing to use, the reason why it's brown is to use bark mulch instead of turf. And we've seen some of our neighbor agencies using that method on their dog parks, and it's been well received, not only by the dogs, but by their parents, and so, and by the maintenance staff. And so we're proposing to do that here. We'll also put in a restroom, a shaded group picnic area. We do have a space, that little oval space there toward the middle that looks like a fish. That is the Ninja Warrior course. We'll also have a Class 1 bike trail on the top edge there. And if we receive competitive bids, we will do our best to put in the skate track, which is that white area there. And then to the very far right of the screen is a BMX pump track that's kind of in a light green and yellow. Again, all of this, it relies on competitive bidding. And so we're hopeful that things, kind of calm down by the time we get to the groundbreaking of this, and that we will be able to stretch as much as we can. So the next steps, similar, is we're at the master plan approval process. To approve, if approved, we'll move on to environmental review and then on to city council for approval. So with that, we are recommending approval of the master plan for CO64/HP Park in the Campus Oaks area of Roseville, and forward the plan to the city council pending environmental clearance. And I'm happy to answer any questions you may have on this one.
Okay, Roy?
Yeah, I guess I was surprised that no public outreach in this kind of a park. So that's pretty rare, isn't it?
Well, with turnkey park projects, we don't do outreach on it.
So who designed this? You or the developer?
Both. It was a collaborative process. We took the jumping point of the first really detailed plan and then started to simplify it to some of the key elements that we felt. We hear a lot. In fact, when the more detailed plan came out, we heard a lot from people. So they were very excited about the skate track. They were very excited about the Ninja Warrior courts. You've all heard about pickleball many times. And so some of the choices that we worked with them on was based on all of that feedback that we've been receiving over the last couple of years.
Also, did I hear, if they'll put that map back up, the far left area has room for 4 ball fields? Is that what you said? And
No, the far left area is just an open turf. It's
Just
not very,
open.
yeah, it's not very big.
Okay.
We wouldn't be able to fit any
I think
active.
she mentioned 4 courts.
Yeah,
Four
4
courts.
pickleball
Okay,
courts, yeah.
okay.
Get 4 in.
Thanks, Mike.
And that entire brown area is a dog park?
Yes, it's
The
about.
entire,
Yes, it's about 3 acres. So you can see, because it's narrow, it looks like a lot of space, but it really isn't.
okay. Regina?
Parking? I didn't see parking. Did I miss it?
You did not miss it. Parking.
So just
We're-
on street parking is
There's
anticipated?
there's street parking. One of the things that we're working with the developer on is on the bottom of the screen, or of the park itself, is a road for HP, and then HP parking, or former HP parking. So we're working with them to see if we can have reciprocal parking or being able to use that parking. That's something that's going to need to be worked out prior to going to city council approval, because as you just picked up on, if we don't have enough parking, it's going to spill into the neighborhoods.
Yeah, I think it's, I mean, I like the mix of things that you have there, because there's nothing quite like this that far west. So I think it's really great, but it is going to definitely draw people. So the parking has to be, dealt with.
Yeah, we agree.
I'm excited for it. Couple of questions, and this is only because I'm forgetting. Is this one, did we talk about this space a while ago, like with the amphitheater and all that other in that area, or was that another location? I thought it was in that new area where we were talking about a park like this, and there's something with the paseos going in.
This one does have a series of paseos. It did have an amphitheater in
Did
the,
have, okay.
yeah, in the original concept plan.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm excited for the skate park. I know that I have, and I've shared along with, I've gotten a lot of comments for folks looking forward to something like that. So, I'm hoping that that's one of those that could live within the budget, because you are right, that's a lofty goal for, what we do for our neighborhood parks for something like this. But if miracles could be made, so. Yeah, no, it's a good design, Tara. Especially with all the density, the new home density around the area as well.
Thank you.
Yeah. Tara, 11 acres, how does this stack up with other citywide parks? Is this on the smaller side, or
Very small side.
is there a smallest citywide park?
This would be, well, Gibson, I think, is fairly close, but this would be the smallest.
Okay. And then, so I take it there's a design-build deal?
Well, no, the developer will go out to bid. They'll bid on using our pre-qualified contractors list. And we will agree to the, selection, and then they will oversee the contract, the construction contract.
And who's the contract with, the developer or the city?
The developer.
Developer. So it basically is a design-build deal, right? They're going to design it and build it?
Yes.
Okay.
With subs.
Yeah, with subs. Now, does the 3.5 million, is that the equivalent of citywide park fees in this specific plan area?
Correct.
Okay. So I have one other concern, do we have a shortfall agreement with these guys?
We're in the process right now of finalizing the park development agreement. We have some language in there. If the bids come in higher than 3.5 million, we need to collaboratively select what we do next. We may have to do some value engineering. We may ask them, we have the ability to ask them to go out to bid again. and make some modifications. So we do have that in the park development agreement.
Okay, I think that's an important factor, because as a developer, a lot of things can happen between now and then. And if whoops happens, I want to make sure the city doesn't hold a bag.
Absolutely, and
No.
that's really important. One of the things that we will do, and I didn't mention it, but when we finally go to the city council for approval, we will bring the approval of the park development agreement with it.
Okay, I think that's very important. And I would strongly suggest we cut out some area for parking, because I can see it coming down the pike right now. If there's no off-site parking, you're going to get calls from the neighbors. Once you have the neighbors there, there's all these people parking in front of my house. I can hear it now.
Yeah, me
So
too.
I would, I would strongly suggest we kind of solve the off-site parking issue, even if it's just cutting out some angled parking, along, because it is a very linear park, and I imagine we have some opportunities there to cut out some angled parking.
That is actually shown in the concept plan. Before we move forward, as I mentioned to Regina, we need to meet with the former HP site council and board. They have a ton of unused parking that's right next to it. And so if we can create a documented agreement about being able to use it, then we can use the 3.5 for actual amenities and use an existing bank of existing parking. That's ideal. However, we have not met with them yet on that parking. We will before we go to council. And so to your point, if that is not an agreement we can come to, we're going to have to find parking before we move this forward.
Okay, and again, just find a way to solve it. And I guess the parking will be addressed in the development agreement? If we get the off-site parking?
It will be a different agreement because with the landowners, that's different than the developer. So we'll have to have a separate agreement with them.
Okay. To the extent that they hit the council on the same time, that would be ideal.
Yes.
But
Agreed.
I got to tell you, this is the strangest looking park I've ever seen. I mean, I've done a few specific plans in town, as you know.
Mm-hmm.
I've never seen one like this one, but you've done a good job of
With space.
dealing with the cards you were dealt. Okay, but those are my concerns, and again, I would just solve parking issue, make sure you have a shortfall agreement, and go on from there. I would like, obviously, the greed side of my brain would like a citywide park that's a little bit bigger, but again, you did a good job with the cards that were dealt to you.
Yep.
That's all I have.
Sandra?
No.
Yeah, Mike, along the sides of parking, yeah, so it looks like you have apartments and then the medium density below the dog park, which I assume are like those, like the more like the 4-pack type.
Yeah, I
houses
call them
are-
reach out and touch your neighbor homes. Yeah.
So I think, yeah, that could be an issue with the parking, because I know those generally don't have a lot of parking for the residents. And then you've got the single-family homes off on the far side. With regard to the public comment, does the city take into account the desired amenities when they're working with the developer?
Oh, absolutely.
okay.
Absolutely.
Incorporating kind of the wish list there. All right.
I think Leah has a question.
I noticed.
I'll go next. Go ahead.
Yeah, I noticed that the amphitheater kind of got chopped off, probably due to cost. Is there any way to put it in another proposed park plan or anywhere else around the area?
Yeah, we'll need to look at that. The other reason, in addition to cost, was the adjacency to homes. It's really packed in there. And so we wanted to make sure that we kind of spread things out a little bit. But definitely, I think, in fact, Jill and I were talking about an amphitheater this morning about where might be a good spot for one.
Yeah, I know that I've heard expressed, like in the performing arts areas, wanting an open air kind of amphitheater. We've gone down to San Francisco to use theirs before, but one right at home would be nice too.
I wrote it down.
I just want to say I'm really familiar with this area. My kids play soccer on the fields to the other side of that roundabout, so we know the area quite well, and there is a lot of parking for the HP, but so that there's an abundance of parking, and it's never used. But hopefully that agreement can be successful for the parking for this, because it would basically solve the issue that your concerns are. My other thought was in our introductory public comment call, he had asked about public bike parks, and I don't even really know what that is, but you had mentioned the yellowish area to the right of the picture as being a bike park. Would that be the same thing that he's mentioning?
It is the same thing as he's mentioning, and we're looking at a couple of other locations as well for BMX and pump tracks.
So I think Ellen had said that someone from staff would reach out to him to let him know. I'm assuming that's the discussion that will be happening with him. Okay.
For sure.
Well, great. Thank you.
Okay. All right. So we'll now open it up for public comment. If there's anyone in the viewing audience who would like to comment on this, please call 916-774-5353, and we'll give you a little bit of time to call. Definitely one of the more interesting layouts.
Be good for the zip line, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
On your amenity.
Perfect park for a zip line.
Good. Definitely add that extra little kick of interesting.
Seriously.
All right, doesn't look like we have any phone calls, so now we will get some approval on this one. One phone call, sorry. Okay, before we close, we do have a phone call.
Good evening, you're on with the Parks and Recreation Commission. Could you go ahead and state your name, please?
Yes, it's Benjamin Lloyd.
He is. He's back.
Mr. Lloyd, you heard us talking about you.
I heard it. I figured I'd give a call. So part of my question was, I think it's great that you guys are considering the skate park and the bike park as well. It seems like if one had to go, it might be the bike park. I'm wondering about the inclusivity of the skate park. I think in the state of California, bikes are technically classified as vehicles, so I know a lot of public skate parks don't allow bicycles. Would this be that scenario, or would it be open to bikes operating at the bike skate park as well?
I think it depends on, should I answer it? Depends on how it's designed. Certainly, I've seen bicycles use the same facility, but probably not at the same time. So it may have to be separate hours, separate days. But there's a lot of details to be worked out between now and install. So I definitely will be giving you a call tomorrow and to talk further about what the possibilities are, and to share with you some of the other plans in the works throughout the city.
Okay, I appreciate it.
Anything else tonight, Mr. Lloyd?
That's all. Thank you so much.
We've got another one coming up, so. Hey.
All right, I'll just listen.
All right, thank you.
Bye.
Good night.
Okay, and that was it? Okay, so now we will move on to approval. Do we have a motion for this item?
So move.
Second?
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion carries on this one. Thank you, Sarah. And now for your, it looks like you've got two left. So 6.4, the CO62 Neighborhood Park Master Plan with Tara G.
All
Right, so this one is also in Campus Oaks. It is a 2.4 acre linear park, or what is referred to as a couplet. And it's surrounded by medium density residential on the west, and that's that light brown color there, and low density residential on the east, which is that yellow. The park budget for this is a little over $1 million. So without going into the same conversation, this is going to be built as a turnkey or developer-built project as well. So again, there's no public outreach that goes along with this. This is considered a neighborhood park, but keep in mind this is very linear as well. It's about 100 feet across, so it's not really super, super wide. It's wide enough to enjoy. And it's again has roads on both sides of it. So once it's built, it'll be turned over to the city for maintenance and operations. So the concept plan that was developed again was fairly detailed, and this slide shows that. There's the roundabout. I think Mike, you had talked about. There's the roundabout. This park is split into two. You can see there's a road that bisects it sort of in the middle there, or sort of to the north. And so, again, it creates a different kind of challenge when you look at a neighborhood park in this kind of configuration. So if on the next slide is the actual refined master plan. So you can see that $1.1-ish million is even worse than 3.5. And so again, north is to the left. This design creates a center walkway or promenade that leads to a small plaza and seating area. There is some exercise opportunities, not only in the perimeter pathway, but also there's strategically located picnic tables and benches throughout this northwest, north-south alignment of the park. And instead of actually putting in equipment, what we are proposing to do is to put in some different signage that shows people how to exercise using a bench. Can you do push-ups? Can you do some stretches, or using a picnic table and using that instead of actually putting in exercise equipment? So it will run through the entire space, and it'll be very interesting to see how well it's used. And in this case, because it's a 2.4 acre site, it could be spread out and linear. It can be spread out along that pathway. The lower half is mostly kept open. You can see there's a couple walkways that create some interest in planting that breaks up that grass area. And this really is essentially a passive park designed for informal and self-directed use. So depending on how construction document approvals go, the target for breaking ground could be winter of 2021. If we encounter some plan approval challenges, it could break ground in spring of 2022. So again, with this master plan approval or recommendation, we'll go through the environmental review process and then bring the master plan and a park development agreement to council for approval, and then start the construction document process. So with this one, we're seeking approval for the master plan of CO62, the couplet or linear park at Campus Oaks, and forward the plan to the City Council pending completion of environmental clearance. And that concludes this presentation, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Mike?
Nothing for me, thank you.
Looks like there was a jogging path around the perimeter. Is that okay? Is there, and then with that street that splits the park, is there any safety considerations on?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how busy that road is going to be, but.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I was going to say it shouldn't be, but you never know. Most people are going to go east-west, and so this would be those two main corridors on both the north and the south. People mainly using this should be the residence itself, but it could be used as a cut through as well. This park reminds me if you've been on the Stanford campus, and they have a similar configuration there, and actually the kids play volleyball in that turf area, which it's a lot wider. The one at Stanford's a lot wider, but it has a similar feel of just being a green space that people enjoy, some passive recreation on it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think the neighborhood is ideal for it, but that layout seems like it would, it could possibly meet like the amphitheater type thing, but not, I don't think it's good for here, but just because it was kind of long and narrow, you could do some type of, if you run into that situation in the future. Anything?
My concern would be that road, just as to make sure that there's a way that, if kids are running from one side to the other, that there's some, I don't know, I mean, that would just make me nervous, but is it what can possibly be done to maybe merge those two sides, or?
At this point, there's not a lot. It's already there, so that'd be the challenge. So we need to, in some of the details, really look at how we prevent that, children running across that little section there.
The A4 right now is a alternate, right?
Yes.
It's not, okay. And so you don't really have any amenities on right now that are between the two, right?
Correct.
Okay.
How wide is that grass area? Is it wide enough to have a soccer field, or?
Since it's the whole thing is 100 feet wide, so then you have your walkways, your trees, so it's pretty narrow.
Not wide enough, right?
No.
Well, that's tough. Well, maybe I don't know, maybe youth soccer. I mean, the youth six soccer, youth seven soccer.
Pee-wees, the little pee-wees could probably play on that.
Or, you mentioned volleyball. A sand volleyball court here would be a nice addition, and it's fairly inexpensive to construct. So I just see that whole big area as kind of wasted space, personally.
Yeah, keep in mind as well, I hear you on that. It's, $1 million doesn't get stretched, doesn't go very far. Keep in mind on the south side, on that other side of the street there on the right, is a 6-acre neighborhood park.
Oh, okay.
So there will be plenty of opportunity to put some field sports in there, or
Okay.
volleyball or whatever.
Well, like I said, consider the sand volleyball. I mean, you gave me the idea, okay?
These are, this is all around the medium density, so you're going to have a lot of places that don't have any backyards that would just appreciate some empty space to do something.
I think that's a lot of it, right? Is that empty space for, let's eat picnic dinner at the park, let's throw frisbee, ball around, that kind of thing, to, I'm a fan of I call them the patio homes. I have one. I love it. No maintenance, anything, and then it makes you experience all the other amenities around by choice. So, something like that. I frequent our parks because of that. So, yeah, just having that space in that area is just great, even as is.
Yeah, I can tell you, Harry Crab, before you extended it, it had so many people just coming for the volleyball courts. Every day there are people on those courts. I don't think there's enough parking for it, honestly. That would just be my concern as a resident who lives right by there. That park is packed. People love it and are always there for all the amenities.
Look at that. Another good job, Tara.
I just got one more comment on the roadway and the safety concerns. Maybe what you do is, a street table. Mm-hmm. It's a little higher.
Yeah.
So nobody can come crashing through there.
Yeah.
Rather than a speed bump. They use those in Sacramento County quite a bit, and they're pretty successful. But I think that would, rather than use speed bumps, that would slow it down, or use some type of enhanced, budget, some kind of enhanced, maybe stamped concrete or something like that, just so people coming through there knows, hey, this is a little different,
Right.
and not just go barreling through there subconsciously.
Well, we can work with the developer and see what kind of options that they prefer. They're listening in, so we can circle back with them.
Stamped concrete's pretty inexpensive.
Yeah, it's stamped concrete. We also do the table bench that you're talking about. We have that in Maidu. I think it's a little different because the Maidu, it's on the road itself, which is a park road and not a public road. So we'll have to confer also with, Public Works and see what they're willing to allow happen.
Mark Stott can figure it out.
I was going to say, I can see this actually being a great little spot for families to just go out and kick the ball around, and a young kid learning how to throw a ball or whatever. So I think sometimes we don't need to put an actual field in for it to still generate the same kind of activity. It's just a little more informally done. For the safety thing, I live off of Vernon, and I'll tell you, even speed bumps don't slow people down. Going through there, it's amazing. But what it usually does is once they hit it, they go, and they kind of slow down after. Mm-hmm. So if you could figure out some way to put it before the actual crossing, so that it's actually a reminder that they need to slow down, because sometimes people just aren't paying attention. So I love the benches, but they're usually at the spot, and they're kind of, if people aren't paying attention, it's a little bit too late at that point. I don't know, just a suggestion. Nobody likes speed bumps, but.
Yeah, and Andre knows me. I as a coach, I like wider space.
Space, triple option.
Just kind of in my genes,
That's fact. Field and boundary.
Could you put some possible signs just before you enter the zone, like, children at play, slow down, 5 miles an hour zone, something just to warn drivers ahead? I'm a new driver. Sometimes I like a sign that kind of warns me. I'm like, oh no.
Again, we'll work with our Public Works engineers and see what kinds of ideas they can.
I like it. Sometimes simple is appropriate.
Roy, anything from you?
I'm good.
Okay. So now we'll open it up to the public. If you'd like to make a comment, please call in to 916-774-5353.
Next one's a park. Oops. Park naming. You try to do it. It's fun.
All right. Doesn't look like we have any calls for this one. So we'll move on to the motion. Do I have a motion to approve?
I have one more question.
Yes.
When we're doing turnkey parks, does it kick in prevailing wage?
Yes, it does.
Oh, okay. I thought that maybe with turnkey, you get a little, you don't have to do prevailing wage. You might be able to get some more improvements out of the deal, but it is what it is. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now do I have a motion?
Make a motion.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Thank you, Tara. And looks like between you and Jill, you'll take the last one of 6.5, the park naming process revisions with Tara G.
All right, so no PowerPoint on this one. We're just going to talk through the process. As many of you know, and some of you are new, that we have a park naming process that's been in place for more than 20 years. The process usually every July solicits suggestions from the public to name parks that are going to be constructed that same fiscal year. The subcommittee is made up of 2 city council members and 3 commissioners. And staff is the liaison generally pulling this all together. And then the 3 officers from the commission is usually the chair, vice chair, and secretary. But there's been some recent changes that have gone along with making us really relook at what the process looks like today. The Parks and Recreation Commission no longer has a secretary position. So like last time, it was a little bit of like, who do we ask as that third person to come in? And it was based on seniority at that point. And we also had a review, the attorney review of the subcommittee, and it was determined that the subcommittee is subject to the Brown Act. Because it's appointed, whether it's appointed or elected, that bringing the five together really created a violation there. So it created a need to re-examine the way we solicit park names. So the most critical aspect, of course, is bringing ourselves into compliance with the Brown Act. So we looked at a couple of different options. And one was to create a subcommittee made up of staff who will present up to 3 recommendations per park to be named, and then bring that to the commission for review. And then in turn, the commission can recommend up to 3 names per park, or 1, however you choose to do that. That would be forwarded to the city council for their approval. So that was one option. The other option was just to leave it as is and really conduct the review in an open forum. And we really looked at that carefully to see if that really was the direction we wanted to go. We provided in your packet a clean version as well as a red line strikeout version for ease, so you could see how much we ended up changing the process. Some of it, quite frankly, needed to be cleaned up because every once in a while we'll add a sentence here or a sentence there. And so having the opportunity to really look at how it reads and how well it reads, how clear it is, clarify some of the parameters was really a great opportunity to do that. So it is staff's recommendation to create a subcommittee made up of staff to present to you, up to 3 names per park, and then forward it on to the commission. This was something that we really felt was important because it allowed us to have the commission remain part of this process. And instead of 3 of you being part of the process, now all of you are part of the process. And it was really important for us to ensure that that component really was enhanced and maintained for your involvement, your thoughts, your feedback on that. Of course, the council would have the same opportunity as well. So with that is the park naming process, or the major part of it. We would still go out every July and solicit names, and it's just really how we present the name, how we review and present the names is the major change. Yes, Jill.
Yes, I just wanted to also add to that, you will receive recommendations of up to 3 names from staff, but you will also see all of the names were submitted. So you can recommend up to 3 names to the council. They may or may not be the same 3 names that were recommended to you, but I just want to make sure that you will be aware of all the names that were submitted.
Thanks, Jill. With that, I'll turn it back over to you with any questions.
All right, questions, Roy?
I'm good with it as is.
Same here.
Just for my clarity, good with it as it's written, the new proposal, or
As
the
recommend-
current?
as recommended.
As recommended, okay, thank
As
you.
recommended.
I'm with you, Roy, thank you.
Well, I've been on those committees before, and I guess the question is, what necessitated the change?
What necessitated the change was to bring us back into compliance with the Brown Act.
Oh, Brown, okay, all right.
And with Jill's clarification on, bringing up the packet to see all the names, and that, the commission would still have,
Yes, you'll still have
that
an
makes-
opportunity to see all of it.
Very well. I'm happy with as proposed.
No, I'm fine with it.
Yeah, I'll just chime in on that. I understand the concern with the Brown Act, I'm just curious though, because I've been a part of the park naming process before, and it's fun. I like being a part of that. It seems like that would take up quite a bit of time for this meeting, because it's depending on how many parks we have, and the review process and the voting process. When we separated it into its own little meeting, it could take 30, 45 minutes to do, and sometimes like today, we're going on almost an hour or hour and a half. So I guess that's my only concern, is that it would eat into quite a bit of time during this meeting.
Yeah, it possibly could, and so we'll have to look at the agenda for that meeting, specific meeting, and make sure that we find balance.
Find a light meeting, yeah.
There's usually a meeting, or there's usually one time throughout the year where we don't hold a meeting because there's lack of content, so.
Yeah, but otherwise, I think it's a great idea to involve us all, because otherwise we were just waiting on who's available to do it, and it's a good idea.
Well, to your point, Mike, a lot of times it's July, right? It opens the 1st of July, closes at the end of July, but sometimes we can't get the subcommittee together until the fall. So that wouldn't necessarily have to happen, because we can pick a light agenda for the commission and move it forward a little quicker.
Sure.
I was going to piggyback off that and ask the question, and I'm not sure how this particular commission is set up, but is there an allowance for special meetings, something to that effect? So if we did need to squeeze in a special meeting for naming, that maybe we do 2 meetings a month, and then that's dedicated for that, is that an option?
For that, special meetings, we can't always do a special meeting.
Okay.
Yeah, so it may be 1 month, if we have too much in regular meeting, we can call a special meeting for this.
Okay.
I'm good with as proposed. Thank you.
All right, and since we're going to approve this one, we need to go to public comment as well. So if there's anyone viewing who would like to make a comment, you may do so again by calling 916-774-5353. All right, doesn't look like any calls, so we'll move on to approval. Do we have a motion to approve the new process?
Motion to approve.
Okay, a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion carries. And that's the end of our action items there. Next up is Jill. So do you have any updates or comments for the commission?
Yes, good evening, everyone. I'm Jill Geller, your Parks, Recreation, and Libraries Director, and I just have a couple of very brief comments tonight. First of all, last month it was suggested that we provide a report and/or an update about our joint use agreements with the school districts, and I know that came up again tonight. As you all saw, we had a very full agenda tonight, so we didn't put it on tonight's agenda, but I didn't want you to think that we had forgotten that comment from last month. So you'll see that on an upcoming agenda. And my only other comment tonight comes with very mixed feelings as I inform you that after 17 and a half years as a City of Roseville employee, and after 15 years of managing our Parks and Recreation Commission meetings, as well as being an administrative assistant like no other, our amazing Ellen Warland has announced her intent to retire. Mixed feelings because I'm happy for Ellen and so sad for us.
Say it isn't so.
It isn't so.
To vote on that?
Yeah, we do.
I think that's a great idea.
Where's Mike? Mike, can we do that?
All not in favor?
Ellen's last day with the city will be June 17th, so tonight is her last meeting with the commission. Please join me in thanking Ellen for her amazing service to the city. We will miss you, Ellen. That's all I have. I thought that would probably be enough for you for tonight.
All right, so commission members, do you have any comments?
One thing, I live over in the Maidu area, and I've had a couple of people from my neighborhood say, is it possible to resurface the asphalt around Maidu? And I'm sure you've never heard that before. So I don't know the answer to that, but I know that the money is probably tight, and it's not going to be this budget year or whenever.
The asphalt roads or?
It's the path that goes all around the park, the running trail, the hiking, walking trail, the asphalt path around. It's cracked and in bad shape and falling apart. Infrastructure. Where have we heard that before?
Ask Joe Biden for the money.
Yeah, okay.
So alternative transportation did do half the loop, and so of course the worst half is the part that you're talking about. So we're aware of that. We're seeking funding to do it, but it's, to your point, it's quite expensive, but we are in pursuit of some dollars to be able to address that.
Okay.
I need to offer up a huge thank you. I was so excited to see. I don't know how I didn't notice it, if it just happened, but I remember a little while ago, maybe a year, 2 years ago, I was talking about the trails and the directions on bikes versus walking. And for some new folks, it's kind of new on which side, that kind of thing. And so going out there and seeing the directions for one way on, you walk this way, bike this way, so people can't be confused. I thought that was awesome to see out there. So a huge thank you to the Parks and Recs, to even me as a citizen that utilize it and makes my comments. And next thing you know, things are awesome. So thank you. Appreciate it.
Just maybe one request, it's probably for Jill. The citywide parks are a completely different funding mechanism, and cash flow can be sporadic. Can we kind of have a little kind of an idea of what citywide parks are in the hopper, and kind of based on just some historic cash flow, when the timeframes might likely be, because again, when you have a pandemic and you're not getting any building permits, you get no construction money. So,
If you have any information on that.
Do it now.
yeah, just for a future meeting.
Oh,
You don't have to do it
future
now.
meeting.
Okay.
But for a future meeting, because I imagine it's going to take a little research to do that. So, and then I think it's if we don't have the projected cash flow, we need to have some alternatives in mind. But that's another project. Get these built first, and then we'll do that one. But I would be interested to know that one.
Any comments? No. For me, just thank you, Alan. We'll certainly miss you. You've always been a great help to me, so appreciate that. The other comment I had, when we do the, I don't know if it'd be helpful or not, but when the new park plans come up, is there some type of list of, here's the general amenities that we offer, and is there the nearest, so when this park plan comes up, the nearest basketball court, if it's not going to be at this one, is half mile away, or those types of things. Is that available when you're doing the outreach, or?
Yeah, we often share during the outreach where the closest amenities are, if we don't choose to put it in. But just like the one map, I can certainly include that in all of the presentations, if that's helpful for you.
Well, I think it would be helpful for me, because sometimes I don't have an idea of where that park is in relation to the others, and I don't know if it would be helpful for others just knowing that, okay, yeah, we're not going to put something in here, but that neighborhood has something nearby, or the same amenity nearby.
Right, we can definitely include that.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, I just wanted to say congratulations and thank you to Ellen, and thank you for stalling your retirement until I was done being chair. Because I really relied on you quite a bit to get me through that year, so it was good timing. Thank you for that.
Just thank you, Alan, and yeah.
I have one thing I forgot to mention. I just want to give a shout out to Roseville Joint Union High School District. My daughters graduated from Oakmont. They got it. They had a graduation ceremony as well as some of the other schools in the district. They did a wonderful job. I am glad that they worked hard to get these kids a graduation ceremony they deserve. So if you can pass along that to the district, I'd appreciate it.
All right. Oh, yes, Roy.
Well, I'd just like to add congratulations to Ellen also, because every time I've asked her a question, I've gotten an answer back fast and very nicely. So, very good. But the other thing is, as I look at all these parks we had here tonight, and the plots of ground that they're put on with odd shapes, you did a really, really good job of dealing with a deck of cards that weren't your ideal places and shapes and sizes to put a park. It was counterintuitive to kind of put a park in some of these places. Nick made reference to that, and I was thinking about that, thinking, good grief, could we have squeezed out a little more land somewhere from these other places? But it didn't happen. You did a good job. Very good.
Okay. If there's nothing else, do we have a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Second.
Second?
So seconded.
All right. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Hey, everybody.